Alright, well, we're back into territory that we actually recognize now. We just passed through our old friend Breezewood. Right past the abandoned turnpike for the 97th time we've been past there in the past year.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're finally headed back in the right direction.
And we're getting ready to cross over the turnpike now.
Yeah.
The actual new turnpike.
Yeah, the actual one. It's actually the actual one. But yeah, we got ourselves unlost now. So that's a thing that just happened.
And here it is.
Yep, it's right below us. There it is, over there. And now it's back there. And now I don't care. So yeah.
You're a poet, you didn't know it.
Right. So anyway, since this has mostly just been stories about me complaining about shit, I want to try and think of something positive to talk about. Just, you know, for something different. So,
well, the one positive thing I have to say is, thank God we had a GPS.
yeah. Otherwise, we'd probably be in, like, Ohio right about now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Got anything positive to say now?
I'm working on it. I've been in such a bitchy mood this entire time of trying to think of something. Because, yeah, like, the whole time we were trying to get back to familiar territory, I just was, like, screaming at cars. You know,
Called somebody a dirty German whore.
yeah, I called someone an ugly German whore. And if you're watching and you are an ugly German whore, you know, well, then you're an ugly German whore. And there's no denying that. But, okay, positive things, right.
You got any?
I had one and then I lost it.
Like you do a lot.
I do that a lot.
Kyle, do you have any?
I lose my train of thought a lot.
I already said one positive thing. Babe, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Cher in September. Of course that's positive.
There you go.
For the second time. Didn't think I'd get to see her a second time.
And I told you to, what the hell did I tell you? Think positive.
Right.
Don't think negative, think positive.
I got it. Okay, this positive. Well, this one's kind of positive and negative in a literal sense.
Huh.
Because this is another crazy neighbor story.
Oh, shit.
His ex-wife had like a 91 Mercury Cougar. Yeah, he knows where this is going.
Yes, I do.
Speaking of when he used to work for the fire company, he was parked in front of the fire hall, and he was in his ex-wife's car, and it wouldn't start.
In 1/2 mile, turn right.
So he hooked up jumper cables to, I assume, was the fire truck. I don't really know what he had it hooked up to. All I know is he went to hook it up to the car. And apparently, he doesn't know
Red to red,
black to black. Blew the fucking battery up. I mean, like, literally blew it the fuck up. I mean, blew the caps off the top of it, battery acid all up under the hood, blew it the fuck up. Yeah. And speaking of, you know, him and batteries. I may or may not have made this clear before, but he's not that good at fixing stuff. He does everything the redneck way.
Can't duck it, fuck it.
His favorite tools are black tape, rubber bands, twine, and wood.
Foil.
And foil. We already told foil, but he really only uses that to replace fuses.
Yeah.
But no, his favorite tools to fix shit are black tape, rubber bands, and twine, and a block of wood. And, lawnmowers in particular. And like I was saying about batteries, this guy went through a shit ton of mowers over the years.
Yeah.
He went through a lawn boy phase, and if you don't know what a lawn boy is, they're these ugly green pieces of shit where the wheels aren't in a perfect, corner to corner formation. Like the wheel on the right is pulled back a little bit, and the grass shoots in the front.
Yeah.
And the older ones had 2-cycle engines on them. Well, anyway, he had one that was an electric start one time. And when he first got it, I don't know where he got it, but when he first got it, it was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
And it was strictly electric start?
It was strictly electrical start. There was no pull cord on it. You just turned the key, and it would go. And it ran good. Mind you, this thing was not really a piece of shit until he got his hands on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it, but all I will say, just to shorten this story a little bit, is by the time he was done with it, all of the electrical work was gone, except for the cord that went from the starter, and he had the plug taped together with tape, of course, and an extension cord, like one you would plug into the wall, running the full length of the handle, and then double that so it would like get wrapped up around the handle and then go back down. It was that long. And I said to him one day, I'm like, what's that for? And he's like, that's how you start it. And I'm like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? He pops the hood of the truck and holds the 2 ends of the wire on the truck battery and starts it.
Yeah.
That was how he fixed it in order to get it to start. And it's like, well, that's interesting. Now, how do you shut it off? Pushes the choke lever down and lets it flood out. Oh my God. Yeah, that was one of the ways he fixed one.
Yeah.
He had an old Cub Cadet ride mower that belonged to his dad that died years ago, and he got his hands on it. And when I first saw it, I'll put it that way, there was really nothing wrong with it. And among several things on it that broke, he would fix anything that would break, but not always the right way.
Yeah. Whoa.
Well, he had this thing for a while, and it got to the point where you hit the key and nothing would happen, whether or not the battery was dead or anything like that. All it really needed was a new key switch.
Yeah.
Try explaining that to him. Now, his solution was to take a screwdriver and touch it across the terminals of the solenoid. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like a relay that when you hit the key, it makes a connection from the battery to the starter.
Yeah.
That's basically what it does. If the key switch isn't working, the solenoid's not going to work.
Right.
Nope, just screwdriver in between the poles and it would crank over like a piece of shit because it's not getting the proper current that it needs. So that's how he would start this thing if he didn't just take the jumper cables and hook them directly to the starter. which is a whole nother story in itself that I don't feel like telling because I've already been pissed off enough tonight. But anyway, the other problem this thing had was apparently no one ever explained to him that an engine needs bolts in order to hold it down.
Yeah.
Some of them were either missing or loose or something, but the whole motor would bounce around. Because when it would finally start to fire, the thing would cough and gag and sputter because it wasn't bolted down. So it would just vibrate all over the place and knock around and carry on.
In 1/2 mile.
So his solution was to wedge a block of wood between the engine and the steering column.
Right.
He said, well, that ought to push the motor forward and hold it down.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that works.
Right.
That's not how that works at all.
No.
Keep right.
So after he completely ran that thing into the dirt, he got his hands on an old Gravely 432 commercial grade. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. I'm not explaining it. Anyway, this thing had a tendency to use a lot of motor oil because it was old. Well, God forbid that this guy would ever check the oil. You know, because, you know, who does that really? You know, right? Am I right? You know, who does such a thing?
The average human being does.
Right.
In 1.5 miles, keep left.
So, naturally, he ran it out of oil and snapped the rod. So he had it rebuilt. And about a year later, the same thing happened.
Yeah.
Because he would refuse to check the oil. Well, before this happened, the steering linkage came apart. And instead of, you know, getting new fittings for the end of the steering linkage and fixing it like a sensible person would do, he just holds it together with black tape and rubber bands.
Yeah.
And not ordinary rubber bands like you would go buy at an office supply store. He made them out of an old bike inner tube.
And on a side note, I actually seen this fucking
In
riding
3/4
mower.
of a mile, keep left.
And I seen the jerry rig steering that he had on that thing.
And the scary part is that it actually worked.
It fucking worked.
Yeah. And I could go on and on and on all night with various things that he has done to innocent equipment. But I won't.
Keep left.
But yeah. And the part that frightens me, and I mean this sincerely, this is the guy that got me started
Continue
in
en route.
working on lawnmowers. He is the one responsible for all that.
Really?
Yeah, because he was the one that used to sit down and show me how to fix them. And of course, being the dumb kid that I was way back when, I believed that he knew what he was doing. It wasn't until I got a little older and, you know, got to talk to other people who actually knew what they were doing that I learned, holy shit, he has no fucking idea what he's doing.
Yeah, me. That was me. One of them was me included.
Yeah. But he's the one that's responsible for it. Because he got me interested in that stuff, and I just kept going from there.
And that's what we still do to this day.
Yeah. For instance, before we left today,
Yeah.
we were replacing a broken pulley on his riding mower, and we made a new plate that it bolts to.
Because the pulley, the bearing blew out.
The bearings blew out of the pulley, and it was grinding away at the plate that it was bolted to.
Yeah, the bearings blew out the last time I was cutting grass, and what happened was it got so hot it started to melt the bracket that the pulley was bolted to, and it started to bend up from the belt tension,
Yeah.
and it just started grinding the hell out of the fucking belt.
Yeah.
Or the fucking bracket.
So we made a new one. mean, it wasn't a perfect fit, but it was good enough to get it running again.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah, it'll work.
Moved part of the grass with it today.
So yeah. And you know, our older videos show that we used to do that stuff a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that shit predates even that.
Yeah, it does.
And we did that shit for years. And we still do somewhat. I mean, we don't have as much time to do it anymore, but we still do it. And, yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's almost 12:30, which is our estimated time of arrival back at our original starting point. Because, you know,
I had a dumbass moment.
yeah, we were about 25 miles in the wrong direction from where we thought we were going to end up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Basically, we were on our way to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we were basically on our way to Pittsburgh. Or maybe West Virginia. At this point, I'm not really sure. I know we were like a sneeze away from Maryland there at one point.
Yeah.
Like, we probably could have pissed at the window and hit Maryland.
Yeah.
You know, that's how close we were to it.
We were about 15 miles away from it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
But in all reality, where I live, I'm only an hour away from Maryland.
Yeah. I mean, really, Pennsylvania is not that big. I mean, it's not that small, but it's not that big. I mean, we're right on top of Delaware.
Yeah.
That place is tiny. Rhode Island is really freaking tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
And last weekend, Natasha and I were in New Jersey. And, I mean, New Jersey is long, but it's not very wide.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're on the East Coast, you know, it's not enormous, but it's not, you know, so tiny you sneeze and you miss it either.
Because it took us an hour to get to the beach.
Yeah.
An hour.
Right.
If we were to do that from where I live, it would take us about 6 hours
Right.
to go where we went.
And I've only been to Pittsburgh like 2 or 3 times in my life. And that's a pretty long ass drive from the middle of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 to 3 hour drive.
2.5 to 3 hour drive, yeah. Because I went out there a couple years back with another friend of mine. He was going out there for a job interview. And it didn't pan out, but I went out there with him for that. And we went out there one other time for something. I forget what that was for.
Here's where this thing's going.
Yeah. And I went one other time. Before that, it was a school function.
Yeah.
We went out there to watch a Pirates game. It was like a reward for, like, our class got like really high scores on one of them tests, them standardized tests. And we went out there. Of course, I'm not that big into sports, and by that I mean not at all.
Yeah.
And I only went because it was a free trip.
Yeah.
And the Pirate Stadium out there has a food court, and that's where I spent 99% of my time.
Yep.
I don't remember who won that day, nor do I care. I don't even remember who the other team was. All I know is it was the Pirates and some other team. I don't remember who won. Wasn't paying enough attention to it to give a shit. You know. But hey, you know, whatever. The food was good. That counts for something.
Yep.
Like I said, it was a free trip, and it was a day where I didn't have to do shit.
Yep.
So I'll take it. really been to a very small handful of sporting events in my lifetime. Because, like I just said, it's not really something that I'm into.
The only thing I'm really into is NASCAR and dirt track racing. That's about it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of football. That's about it.
See, that's just it for me. I used to go to dirt track races quite a bit. I haven't gone in years, but I enjoy that just because it's a much... for me, because it's more of a local thing, and it's a much smaller scale. Like, I don't give a rat's ass about football or baseball or any of that shit, and I don't have anything against it. I just can't bring myself to care. And, I don't watch it on TV. I don't really go to events. But getting back on track to what I was saying before, I've only been to a small handful of things. I was at an Altoona Curve game once. And I don't even remember. I think that was a school function too.
I was never at a curve game.
I went to a curve game once.
Yeah, I was there once, and the only reason I remember I was there is because we got to see Steamer.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know what Steamer is, I guess he's supposed to look like a smokestack on an old steam engine, because what the Altoona Curve is it is a curved section of the railroad that goes around the mountain, and it's known as the Horseshoe Curve. Yeah. That's what that is named after. But yeah, I remember Steamer. He's
Altoona Curve mascot.
He's their mascot, and he doesn't really look like a smokestack to me, but that's what he's supposed to be.
He looks like a green Teletubby.
Yeah, he looks like a deformed green Teletubby.
Yeah. Is
probably the best description of it. But yeah. The other sporting events I've been to, I had a lady friend, the same one that destroyed my mower. She went to a private school, and I went to one of her basketball games one time because she kept bugging me to go watch her play basketball, so I did. Again, I don't remember who won, because I wasn't paying enough attention, because at the time I was just kind of staring off into space, but I went just to be nice. What else have I gone to that I was basically dragged to against my will? I don't think I've ever been to a football game.
I have for school, that's it.
I mean, football is probably my least liked sport, mainly because I don't get it.
I've been to football, basketball, wrestling, you name it. I've been to it.
I did go to a wrestling match once for school. I don't remember if it was something that was going on during the day or if it was in the evening, or I don't remember a lot of the details. I just remember going to it.
Hey, Trev.
Beyond that, the only other thing, like I said, I've been to is dirt track races. I used to be semi into NASCAR, but I'm not really into it at all anymore.
I used to watch it every weekend. Now it's hit and miss.
Yeah,
Ever since Dale Earnhardt Sr. died, nope. I barely watch it anymore.
I never watched it that much, period. I mean, every once in a while, I might stop on it and watch it for a couple minutes, and that's about it. Like, I honestly don't even know who all's in it anymore. Like, I could name, like, maybe 2 or 3 drivers, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been more of a geek, and I like my technology to an extent. I've fallen way behind the times with stuff, and I just kind of stopped caring anymore. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and if you're watching, you might be one of those people that tries to keep up with everything, and you know what, if you can do it, great. Me, I just kind of stopped. I mean, I'm not that old, I'll be 27 this year, and I just can't do it. I can't keep up with all the things that change.
Fuck no. Christ, I can remember 5 years ago having a fucking flip phone, and that was the fucking big shit. They went from a fucking brick.
Turn left.
They went from a fucking brick to a goddamn flip phone, and then flip phone comes to a fucking turns into a keypad that flips the fuck out. Then the flip pad turns into a fucking, you open the whole fucking phone up.
Yeah.
Turn
Sideways.
left.
And now everything is like smartphones and stuff like that. And I mean, for people who utilize them and do it well, you know, good for them. I have no use for such things.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my smartphone every once to have my
In
smartphone.
1.5 miles, turn left.
But you know,
For me, it's a matter of necessity, and I don't feel that I need such a thing.
right.
I mean, I feel that if I can have something that does what I need it to do, that's all that matters. And I really didn't want this video to end up being a feature-length film. I mean, this is already the second half hour of footage that I've recorded tonight. I mean, this shit's already getting to be an hour and a half long, but, you know, whatever. But, you know, getting back on track, you know, I have nothing against technology changing.
No.
It's kind of necessary in a way. But at the same time, I don't see the need to get rid of what you already have that works.
Yeah. And I'm gonna put a side note in this. Another thing that pisses me, the one thing that pisses me off about technology change in the automotive industry. We get so used to working on shit from the late 2000s, then boom, they come out with cars that have 15 to 20 computers in them that communicate to the whole entire fucking car and tell every little thing to fucking work.
Yeah,
And then we have to diagnose this fucking bullshit.
that was kind of something
In 1.5 mile, turn left.
I was about to get at, is I think in some respects technology is overdone. I mean, just because you can invent something that does something doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a basic system that performs well and, you know, gets the job done, just because you can come up with something else doesn't mean that you should. I mean, yeah, new technology can make things better.
Continue on
You know,
route.
that's a given fact.
It can.
It
but-
can, but sometimes you have to stop and realize that maybe newer isn't always better.
Yeah. Yo.
And, you know, at the risk of sounding like a, you know, pissed off old man, you know, maybe it's time we slow down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 25 years old. I've been working on cars since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. My dad's been a mechanic for almost 40-some years. And he's seen a lot of shit. And just in my short time being in the automotive field, working in a garage for the past 7 years, it fucking sucks.
Yeah, and me, I've always kind of been into, like, fucking around with computers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole video of me just sitting there staring at one while I was trying to upgrade a processor.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I met Nate, I got into it.
Yeah, and, you know, I started really, really doing that shit when I was about 13. For some reason, the camera stopped there. I'll paraphrase what I said before I realized it stopped. But like I said, I've been doing that shit since I was 13, and in 13 years, shit's changed a lot. You know, like I can remember when Windows XP was a big deal. Now it's worthless because the support date's come and gone.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when we were younger, like a 10 gigabyte hard drive was enormous.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can carry around a pocket full of SD cards and carry a couple of terabytes worth of information with you from one point to another.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that's how much shit has changed, you know?
Hell, I still have a 2 gig fucking flash drive.
Yeah, and that's basically worthless anymore.
Yeah.
And
What the fuck can you put on that? Pictures?
Yeah,
That's it.
a small fistful of pictures, and that's about it. I mean, I have a 64 gigabyte SD card in this camera, and I bought that because it takes HD takes up a hell of a lot of space.
Yeah.
And we discovered, you know, back early on when we started making a lot of these videos, that we were running out of SD card space a lot. I mean, I went from a 2 gigabyte card to a 4 gigabyte card to an 8 gigabyte card to a 16, and then I bumped it up to a 64 now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have a 16 in my spare camera, and then I have an 8 gig one that I use to transfer all the video footage for all the Nate Fails at from one computer to the other.
Yeah.
Because I found that that's the fastest way to do it, is just put it on an SD card. And the other day, when I was recording what I'm going to do for September, I didn't have enough space on the SD card to transfer all the files I recorded in one go.
In 1/2 mile, turn right, then
Mind you, it's an 8 gigabyte SD card,
Yeah.
and I was trying to transfer 3 files. 3! And I didn't have enough space.
Wow.
Granted, each file was roughly an hour long, but still.
turn right.
That's how much shit has changed. Like, let's go back in time 30 years to the 80s when, you know, the Macintosh first came out.
Yeah.
Back then, you were talking in terms of kilobytes, and that was considered enormous.
Yep.
Back then, the standard size for a floppy disk, and for you youngins that don't know what a floppy disk is, that's like the
Arriving
caveman version of an
west.
SD card.
Yeah.
They were about the size of a CD case.
Yeah.
And back then, a standard floppy disk was about 360 kilobytes. If you were lucky, you had one that was 720. And then they came out with smaller floppy disks that were 1.44 megabytes. Now, I'm going to talk a little technobabble here. There are 1,024 megabytes in a gigabyte,
Yep.
to be technical. That means you could fit roughly 900 floppy disks on half of a 2 gigabyte flash drive. So, roughly 1,800 floppy disks on a 2 gigabyte flash drive. Now, let's take that times 32, and that's how many you could fit on this camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've babbled enough tonight. We're already back at the house, so that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.